The following story contains descriptions of cult abuse and disturbing events. Viewer discretion is advised.
In the remote wilderness of Quebec, a group of people believed they were preparing for the end of the world. They followed a man who claimed to be chosen by God. But behind the isolation of their forest commune, something far darker was happening. Punishments, control, and violence slowly transformed the group into one of the most disturbing cults in Canadian history. What investigators would eventually discover inside the commune would shock even experienced police officers. But the story of how it reached that point begins years earlier, with a man named Roch Thériault and the cult known as the Ant Hill Kids. The location was Eastern Townships in Quebec, then lead to a lot in Somerville Township near the Burnt River. If we look at Roch Thériault's upbringing, we may see how a monster was created. He was born to very poor French-Canadian Catholic family in 1947. His mother wanted him to become a priest, but other family members shunned him because he was born out of an incestuous SA that happened to his mother by his grandfather. Roch endured abuse from his stepfather throughout his childhood. Roch was considered a very intelligent person, but left school in the 7th grade. He wandered Quebec homeless, going from one homeless shelter to another for years. He worked odd jobs until he founded his own woodworking business. Roch met an Adventist pastor in 1972 and began teaching himself the Bible, particularly the Old Testament. Thériault converted from Catholicism to Seventh-day. He had a strong belief that the world was near ending from the biblical fight between good and evil. Thériault convinced churchgoers to leave the church and follow him. He gave motivational speeches, and people did follow him. This would be their truest descent into a life of hell. Roch said his commune would be free of sin and that everyone would live in unity and equality. His first rule would be that his followers would cut ties with their families and the Seventh-day Church, reminding his followers that this was against the values of freedom inside his commune. This should have been a red flag because that is always the first step in anything that can turn abusive. Thériault's fears of the end of the world started to grow, and he stated that God had told him the world would end in February of 1979. Roch would use his commune to prepare for this event. Roch would move his commune to a place called Hope while hiking a mountain he referred to as Eternal Mountain. He relocated his commune to the sparsely populated Gaspé Peninsula, stating this area that they would all be saved from the coming apocalypse. Inside the commune. While being a member of the commune, everybody wore the exact same type of tunics. No other form of dress was allowed. Thériault himself sat back and watched his followers build the commune. This is where he coined the name the Ant Hill Kids, because to him they looked like ants in a colony building an ant hill. The commune made its living from selling baked goods. The life inside the commune soon became a living nightmare for the followers. Roch's rules got stricter and stricter as time went along. He developed a severe drinking problem. He would lash out at his followers. There came a point where followers were not even allowed to speak unless he was present. If Roch thought you were trying to leave the commune, he would become very violent. The punishments began to become more and more severe as the doomsday time of 1979 came and nothing happened. He told his followers it was just a miscalculation and God worked in his own timetable that we could not understand. The descent into madness. The abuse allegedly that happened was straight out of a Nazi war camp. Thériault had concubines that gave birth to 26 children, all fathered by Thériault. If at any point he would become angry, then you would be subjected to a number of physical punishments. The one good thing was that authorities getting wind of the abuse of children came and took them away. As time went on, Thériault's punishments became increasingly violent and sadistic. Followers who displeased him were subjected to severe physical punishments and humiliations. Some were beaten. Others were forced to endure painful rituals that he claimed were acts of purification. In the most disturbing cases, Thériault began performing what he called surgeries, using ordinary household tools with no medical training. These acts left several followers permanently injured and terrified of defying him. The abuse of his youngsters was to nail them to a tree and force other kids to throw rocks at them. A failed circumcision took the life of one, and another died to the elements by being left outside in the freezing cold during a blizzard. Thériault would make his followers sit on hot stoves in penance for upsetting him. He would force followers that he thought needed punishment to sit outside with no clothes on in the freezing temperatures. On September 28, 1988, one of the most tragic events involved a longtime follower named Solange Boilard, who had complained of severe stomach pain. Instead of allowing her to seek medical help, Thériault attempted one of his so-called surgeries. Using makeshift tools and no medical training, he carried out a crude and dangerous procedure, while other followers were forced to watch and participate. Solange did not survive the ordeal. Her death would eventually become one of the key crimes that led to Thériault's arrest. There is more to this, but I can't even bring myself to actually say any more about it. It is purely disgusting. If you want to follow up, just look up Solange Boilard and reference the Ant Hill Kids. To think nobody tried to escape, how mentally beaten they must have been, or how deranged some of them must have been to carry out the evil acts that were done. The one who got away. One follower who eventually escaped was Gabrielle Lavallee. She was 39 years old and had endured years of brutal abuse and punishment inside the commune. When she once tried to leave and later returned, Thériault punished her severely, leaving her permanently injured. Eventually, Gabrielle managed to escape and report what had been happening inside the isolated compound. This is where the cult started to fall apart. Her testimony would become crucial in exposing the crimes of the Ant Hill Kids. The capture of a monster. The psychological perspective is that Roch Thériault was indeed a sociopath, a psycho, and a true sadist. He would blame some of the atrocities on alcohol that he could not remember, but that is always the true fashion of any abuser. You have to blame something else for the evil monster that resides in you. It was October 10th, 1989, when Roch Thériault, now 42 years old, Nicole Ruel, and Chantal Labrie, 31, were taken into custody the previous Friday. They were found in a shelter that was near the commune along with 2 children. The children were taken away by child protective units. Ms. Ruel and Ms. Labrie were charged with aggravated assault. Thériault was charged with criminal negligence causing bodily harm. Jacques Giguère, 36, was later apprehended and charged with aggravated assault. Thériault put in a guilty plea to the assault on Gabrielle Lavallee and received 12 years. This was due to the testimony given by Gabrielle Lavallee. When Thériault and the others listened to her testimony, they had utterly no emotion at all. Thériault addressed the court and blamed it on the bottle, that nobody forced him to drink, and he was guilty, and that he was sorry for what he had done. In October 1989, while all the other part of this horrendous sideshow was happening, following up on a tip the police received, the skeletal remains of Solange Boilard, 32, were found buried at the commune property. Thériault would plead guilty for first degree. After a long special hearing that was done by Justice Claude Perry, the first degree was reduced to second degree murder, which Thériault pleaded guilty to. January 19th, 1993 was when Judge Robert Desmarais gave his sentence for Thériault. Desmarais minimum eligibility based on a joint Crown and defense agreement, Thériault's guilty plea, and defense evidence that painted Thériault as a remorseful model prisoner eager to change. Thériault was sentenced to life imprisonment. Roch Thériault would never be able to finish his sentence. In 2011, by this time, he was 63 years old. A cellmate went up to a guard station, handed them a knife, and plainly said, "That piece of crap is down on the range. Here is the knife. I have sliced him up." This ends the life of a demon that walked the planet as a man. He did not die as a martyr, nor a holy man, just a wicked, sadistic killer. What is always stunning is that his sane followers still loved him, stayed loyal to him, and would follow his every whim. If you would like to watch a movie based on what happened in this true cult tale, check out Savage Messiah. It was released in 2002, and it is a dramatization of the real-life Roch Thériault.
Please allow me to introduce myself. I'm a man of wealth and taste.